Hello, and welcome back to the review for Day After Tomorrow. So, picking up where I left off, they're in an awkward predicament. One guy's laying on top of glass that is actually breaking. Now, the guy underneath can literally see the glass breaking, and this guy is doing everything in his power to hold on as tight as possible. But this man can see that his weight is too heavy for him to be able to pull up with the way that glass is cracking underneath him. So what he does when the father is looking through the snow, he said, he can help you. We can get you out. He's like, no. I'm being reminded of the scene in the Bible when, who is it? The death of the son of David, that his hair got caught up. The son was so vain and he got caught in his own trap. He was riding on his horse that day and he ended up getting caught by his hair in the tree, and it choked him to death. Now, this situation, this man literally made the sacrifice for himself. He made the choice to sacrifice himself. I talk about the same thing in It's a Wrap with the elevator. So this actually ended up being a selfless act in order to prevent any longer delay. Because he knew that they couldn't get him up there. They would have just wasted more time. God will always go back after the one. But sometimes people will make their own decisions. Hear me what I'm saying. Some of these counterfeits, some people, family members, all of these, they will make their own decision to self-sacrifice themselves. I did a word talking about, self-awareness. It's self-awareness and patience. People will choose to sacrifice themselves and put themselves on the sword because they simply do not want to do the work. The thought of getting out is too hard. Some of us would try to get them out. Sometimes that sacrifice is a necessity because it's holding up time and progress. And it's not the fact that God took them out. It's the fact that their own actions, behavior, situations took them out on their own. Plain and simple. God would try to save them. And some of them threw themselves on the sword to save somebody else as well. That third party that was the in-between between the two of them, he would have gotten pulled down there too. And at the risk of the second person getting killed too, he sacrificed himself. Now let's talk about your spouses. In some cases, they were getting delayed. In some cases, there were people in position that may have wronged your spouse but came into realization to the plans that God had, whether it was they may have been a monitor. Some of them may have even been performing certain things against them. And these people threw themselves on the sword because they weren't going to pull nobody else down. Because after they came to the realization of what God was doing, they said, I'm out. I'm not going to keep doing these types of rituals, these types of things. God is actually in this. I'm fighting a losing battle. I'm out. Some of them were given over to their own reprobate mind and they just chose to put themselves out of their own misery. I'm out. Some of them, due to the fact that there was an in-between person, because in some cases, your spouse was dealing with somebody that was dealing with an in-between. And they recognized, oh, this person that I think is my connector that's trying to tell me what to do in order to help the spouse is actually a foe to this person. Let me cut myself off from this person real quick. See how that works? But all the spouse saw was they cut off. They cut loose. They died off. And some of them ended up hurting from the loss. Not understanding the potential of their sabotage. Because just gossiping. Remember, gossip. God don't like gossip. It's as unto murder to him. So the conversations that they did not hear between those two people. When somebody makes the decision, they do the self-sacrifice. Maybe they had a piece of information that they rather throw themselves on the sword to save your spouse is an in-between, go-between, so on and so forth, to stop something from happening. I could give you a bunch of different ways that could fall into place. But some of these people just came to their senses and said, I'm out. So they ended up losing that guy. So they get up and they keep it moving. But while they keep it moving, the guy that got cut, see how it mirrors? The girl got cut, now he got cut. And then he passes out. Just like she passed out. See how it mirrors? So he got to go get him to a safe place. So he ends up having to drag him along. Simultaneously, at the very exact same time that he's dragging the guy along with him to go to a safe location to rest, he sees the ice coming too. So he turns around and he finds the closest open port. Ends up being the upper part of a building. He breaks it, cuts it off, and jumps down in there before the wind that would have killed them. Simultaneously, this is the exact same time the son and his friend are dragging the other guy. Same in spirit as it is in the natural. So he ends up throwing the friend down there. And they end up getting themselves together down there. Now, I always thought, I'm like, well, if it was that windy and the ice did that, then why didn't the ice take over that same area too? Meaning, why didn't it blow down there and freeze them out? I don't know, maybe because it was going this way. I don't know. So the guy ended up in a tent because he in their survival gear was a tent. So they had made a tent inside this building, and he made up a fire to keep the guy warm so that whatever it caused him to pass out, he would get himself together because he needed to rest. They still had some time to go, and they were trying to deal with the grief of having lost the other guy. So he makes him a cup of coffee or chocolate. I don't know what he had, something that was in their rations. And they were sitting there and they were talking. And he was talking about the fact that he messed up. He had messed up with his son. And there were times that he could not get back. So he was going to go get his son. I need you to hear me what I'm saying. For some of your spouses, it's not so much that God messed up on that time. Your spouse removed himself to a degree. But God, just like in Hosea, made it a determination that he was going to go get him back. Go look at the Hosea husband. Okay? He had made the determination, I'm going to go back and get him. Because God always goes back and gets you. It's your choice to walk with him once he does. He was determined he was not going to leave him behind to die. Literally had me in a state where I about ready to cry. Because it lets you know that God was never going to leave that man behind. No matter what that man got caught up in his life. He wanted to make up for that lost time. Whatever it was that your spouse got caught up in, that they lost trust in God, that God ain't never lose trust in them. Just like God was in heaven, hurt, watching Jesus get beat. You think that he wasn't hurt watching Jesus get beat? There were certain things that happened to your spouse throughout his life. Now, somebody say, well, he could have stopped it. Some things happen in people's lives because the testimony that will come out on the other side of that thing. Not because he caused it. No. He didn't cause it. But there's certain things that happen. Hear me what I'm saying. That later will be something that God will use to bless them. Remember, hear me what I'm saying. The son was in that building, right? He was surrounded by people. Had that situation happened any other way and his son was not in there, those people wouldn't have had no way out. I need you to hear me. Certain situations have happened to you, to them, to all these situations. We may not have wanted them to happen to us. We may not have wanted to experience those fractures in our lives. But they happen because God was always going to come back because he was going to get them and use them to get the other people out. You see how that works? There are spaces and places that man can walk into and he will be heard. That's what the enemy is afraid of. Because in his deliverance, he will deliver others. In his deliverance, he will deliver others. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to come into the wisdom and the understanding that some things happen, but there are people in his future that are going to get delivered from his deliverance happening right now. And God wasn't going to ever risk that because the experience that he had to go through is going to deliver somebody else. You might have been sitting up there feeling butthurt because it was taking forever. You may have felt that way. But God said, I know what I'm doing because these certain experiences are going to be able to help somebody else. And how he goes through the process of being healed from these things. How he goes through the process of dealing with these things in his process is going to help somebody else be able to also do the same. So he was never going to leave them. He was never going to leave them nor forsake them. They may have felt like it because some of these experiences they had to go through was some uncomfortable places, but he wasn't ever going to leave them. So he was close to getting to where they were. Oh, you want me to bring that in here? You're coming up on a Kairos moment. The whole thing that started this process of him delivering the information to the president in the first place was there was a set of astronauts that had already been out there. Let's even look at that situation. These people had already been out there. They were actually supposed to be coming in. When they were supposed to be coming in, they made the visual reference. Had they not been there, they wouldn't have been able to see on the satellite the tornadoes coming together. God is right now preparing a series and a sequence of things. You may not see it in the natural just yet, but you can gain wisdom of a whiff of a storm coming over here, a storm coming over there in a different area, and a storm coming over there in a different area. And when these things come together, the culmination of those things are going to bring the right alignment for what? A Kairos. I can't tell you how many times I have seen the word Kairos in the past week. People are talking about Kairos. It is that time. Hear me what I'm saying. It's time. I have even seen people literally bringing up titles. It's time. It's time. It's time. I do not know what you're called to do, but I've seen what I'm called to do. I've been standing in the gap for what I'm called to do and where me and my spouse are supposed to be. But you might want to sit down and get yourself in order because now is time. Because at this point, the Father comes to a point where he comes up, when they come up out of where they were bunkered down in. Because sometimes God will stop talking, not because he just wants to stop talking and not give you no more information. No, he stopped talking because he needed to plan and get himself together before he came and got you. Some of y'all, you were feeling like, you're already at the end. Come on now, let's just... They were already in New York. They were already in the location. They were already there. They were already there. But because of this ice thing that happened, they couldn't move any closer. Some of your spouses got held up right there. Because the enemy sometimes always bring in something like, I'm going to stop you just right here. I always tell the story that one of the ministers I used to follow had told about the fact that there was an it was triathlon person. And they was swimming. They had to swim like 30 miles or something like that. This person comes in, what I just say about the fog. Fog rolls in. This person gets disoriented, can't see. The type of attacks that have been coming to you, your spouse, and a lot of us Christians just naturally right now is pretty much what Dr. Whitaker likes to call an alligator roll. I'm going to throw offense at you. I'm going to throw projection at you. I'm going to throw anxiety at you. I'm going to throw this at you. I'm going to throw it. I'm going to throw it. I'm going to throw it. I'm going to throw everything, including the kitchen sink at you because I need you to stop because you right there. And a lot of people, I'm going to give up on this kingdom marriage thing. I'm going to give up on the promises. I'm going to give up. You right there. Fog rolling. All of these mental warfare, all of this type of stuff, all of it. And God said, bunker, I'm right here at the finish line. Yo, what you mean? Got a bunker down. Can we just cross the finish line, please? He like, I need you to bunker down, right? I know you at the finish line, so just bunker down a couple days. I'm going to need you. David, We at the battle. What you mean? Retreat? Retreat until I tell you. Wait until you hear the sound of a going in the mulberry bushes. Come on. I'm going to need you. But we right. Back up. Retract, everybody. And I need you to sit there until you hear a sound of a going. A lot of us are in that moment. It's funny, I was watching a TV show last night and I saw an actor I had not seen in years. I'm like, who's this guy? I know this guy. I don't know where he's from. And then I heard this line and I'm getting chills even right now as I prepare to say it. He said, we in the paint in that film. He was a co-star to one of the actors that was from my TV show from when I was growing up. And he co-starred with her in this film. But when she was freaking out in the middle of the moment that was her moment, he grabbed her and said, we in the paint right now. We can't afford to be. No. You are in the moment. We can't afford. You on the shot clock. This shot's about to be taken right now. Don't you dare move. This moment comes once in a lifetime. Do not move. Do you hear me? Some of you are so close to the manifestation, it's utterly ridiculous. I'm serious. I'm serious. That's how close you are. That close. God is about to do a miraculous work. Don't get caught off guard. You hear me what I say? Don't get caught off guard. I was looking at the clock. I was like, as the time ticks down. So, yeah, you can wait for a minute. Because usually when God does that, He pausing you before He releases you into the new thing. Plan, rest, run. A lot of us like to plan, then we like to run. God said, I need you to rest. Some of your spouses, because of the stress that they were under, they were running. And God said, if you run now, under the amount of stress that you're under right here, you ain't going to be able to make it through the next phase that you got to get through. And they got to do some things with you. And if they were in a state that they weren't clear of mind, fullness of understanding, and God was, in some cases, protecting them for the fullness of attacks that were coming against them. Stop, sit down. You who have been standing in the gap, He stopped you and had you sitting down. And you were like, why am I sitting down? Sit down. We have to finish line. I mentioned this in the podcast. It's coming up. Literally, you feel like the runner that has come around the last bend of your race and you see the finish line. You see, you ready to run faster. And God said, slow down. Huh? What you mean? I'm right here at the finish line. What you mean slow down? Tortoise, hare. Hare, slowed down, sat down and waited. Some of y'all need to slow down, sit down and wait. If God says wait, God says rest, but be careful. Some of y'all wasn't moving in the first place, but for some of you that was running full speed on all cylinders, that's why the enemy was mad at you, because you was getting progress in all areas. Whatever you put your hands to, you were getting progress in. And God was like, you getting too much progress. The enemy already sees this. I'm going to need you to stop moving for a moment. Because he's got a trap set up ahead of you. I need you to stop. And you be sitting there like, I'm on my momentum. I'm on my grind. Let's go. He's like, I need you to stop. It's like, but I'm right here. Stop. Sit down. Sit still. Don't move. We good. You good. You gonna be good. Stop. Because what was attempted, what the enemy is planned, remember those wolves that busted their faces open on the glass? Teeth was all out, but they busted their faces open. Your enemy, because God said stop moving, is about to bust their face open. Because you're not going to be where they wanted you to be, because they figured your ETA to arrive there was going to be at this particular point in time. And God says, stop moving. Stop. Sit still. Because I see what's coming up ahead, and I'm going to get it to bust its face open. I will never forget Pharaoh. Pharaoh thought he was being cocky, run up after them. He's like, I'm going to catch them. They ain't going to be able to stop. God led them. I'm about to open Hosea and read you a scripture specifically. God led children of Israel through the water. And Pharaoh thought, oh, the water's open. Let's go in there behind them. The enemy understands the door's about to open. There's literally a scripture that talks about the fact that a great door has been opened before you, but there are many adversaries. Yeah, because they waiting at the door. They see you. They know that you coming. But God's like, yeah, they going to see you coming, but they ain't going to be able to stop you from entering in. I remember I was going through a level of attack a couple days back. Just before that attack completed itself, I saw on the news, because my dad watched the news all the time. I hate watching the news, but I caught this. A lot of Christians, I'm going to make this point. I'm going to put this pin right here. A lot of Christians don't want to watch the news. Oh, I don't want to watch the news. Watching the news is this, that, and the other. I don't want to watch it. If God don't call you to watch the news, don't sit there and watch the news. I don't ever like watching the news. But if the news comes up in front of my face, sometimes he does that because he needs you to see something. He needs you to intercede for something. He needs you to stand in the gap for something. I've had 3 separate occasions where the Lord put something in front of my face from the news and said, intercede. When I tell you I interceded, and when I interceded, right around the exact time that I interceded, the person was found. The thing ended up coming into the favor of the situation. There was a blessing to that situation. You never know why God's having you do something. So don't get high on your horse and think, I ain't gonna watch the news. Too much stuff goes on. If God don't call you to watch the news, don't watch it. But if God does, 9 times out of 10, he just needs you to see something for a moment.